16th, 2021 meeting of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission. And we'll start with a call to order. And a roll call. Commissioner Girding.
Present.
Commissioner Fink.
Present.
Commissioner Brown.
Present.
Commissioner Wilson.
Present.
And I would also note that we have Shannon Reidlinger, our liaison with the city, and also our city council liaison, Kevin Zabel. So we'll start with a Pledge of Allegiance, if we can all stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Well, thank you. The first item on our meeting tonight is to approve meeting minutes. Our June and July meetings, we did not have a quorum, so we could not have a official meeting or conduct business. But let it be noted that there are notes that we did come together, but were unable to conduct business. But we do have our meeting minutes from our May 17, 2021 meeting. And this was sent out with our packet. Are there any comments on the meeting minutes from May 17th by any of the commissioners and any changes or corrections that they would like to make? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to approve the May 17, 2021 meeting minutes as written.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor of approving the May 17, 2021 meeting minutes, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Meeting minutes are approved. All right. We are now going to go into our management report. And I'm happy to say that we're going to be reporting on the Grow Solar Twin Cities 2021 Group Buy Program and provide an overview of that program. And I guess I would just like to start out with saying that the City of Oakdale has been involved in past solar Twin Cities programs, that we have supported them in our city, and that we are continuing to support the 2021 program called Grow Solar Twin Cities. This is part of our goals in the 2040 Comprehensive Plan, Chapter 8, Goal 1, and Policy 3. We're saying we'll protect and encourage on-site solar energy development that maintains community character while utilizing local solar resources to the fullest potential. And I'm happy to report that Midwest Renewable Energy Association is actively in running this program, and that we have selected a contractor, True North Solar, who has been contracted the past two programs as well, and have done an excellent job in the past with that. And I think I'll just turn it over to you, Shannon, to provide more details.
Sure. So, like you mentioned, the City of Oakdale has participated in promoting the Solar Group Buy in the past. There have been a number of solar power hours that the city has hosted. They're free information sessions for anyone who wants to come and learn a little bit more about the group buy. This year, we have the opportunity to co-host a session again. So you'll see here on the second page of the memo, there are a number of dates, a few mostly in September. I think there's one in August and a couple in October that the MRAA has pulled together options for a virtual solar power hour. Again, that's just informing residents about the opportunity of the group buy itself. So what the commission has the opportunity to do is basically co-host one of those sessions. So it's not necessarily a large commitment. The MREA is planning everything. Mostly what we would do is just kind of show up and provide a face to say that the EMC supports this opportunity, and hopefully that lets other residents in Oakdale know that there is some support within the government for the group buy program. So you all have the opportunity to select one of these virtual sessions, whatever works best for the commission. Not everyone has to be there. It's just nice to have at least one representative. There was also, in the email that I received about the solar power hours, the option to potentially do an in-person solar power hour. That is something that the Oakdale has done in the past. If that's something that interests the commission, I can talk with him about the logistics for that. It might be a little bit difficult given where we are in the pandemic, but it is an option that was presented to us if we want to take advantage of it.
Thank you, Shannon. I think we should try to do this as early in September as possible.
Okay.
To give people a chance to go through the process, because it is a process. They need to get estimate for their home, and then, figure out financing, et cetera. And if they want to get it installed this year, depending on the weather, it gives them more opportunity to get an installation in yet this year. So I would personally like to see it done at one of the earlier ones in September.
Okay.
And I think that given the situation, the kind of fluid situation, let's say, we're in right now with the pandemic, that a online meeting would be best. And I think we may also be able to meet, get more residents to be online than coming to City Hall. I think that could be a slight hurdle, and then any reluctance about doing in-person meetings, even though they may be interested. So I think, personally, I think that online would be the best option. Any other comments from any other council members about either of those subjects? And any dates that work best for council members if they would really want to be here?
I think that the 3rd will be hard. That's Labor Day weekend. And I would just see that not being a good turnout with everyone kind of cinching up their summer. So I would say the 7th is probably better. I would wonder as well, yes, in person is difficult right now. Can we host a Zoom party for it though? Or we do movies in the park. Can we do power hour in the park?
That's a great question.
It's outside, but it kind of mixes both things. Residents can come. It can be picnicky if we wanted. Kind of the best of all the worlds, potentially.
I know from past solar power hours, they do rely on PowerPoint, and that might be an issue outside.
Okay.
Yeah.
But I can always ask the question.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, if the presentation isn't too wordy, if it's presented in a way that is reasonable, I guess, like a true presentation, then maybe the movie theater venue would work. If it's just straight reading slides, probably not, but if not, maybe we could open up our time frame as well, and host during a commission time, and present it kind of on television, if you will, and we can all be together to support it, even if we can't do a separate meeting. I don't know what our rules are, but
Right.
if that's possible.
I believe in the past, we've had guest speakers come during EMC meetings, so
Yeah.
this would be something very similar.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
You might have said this, but remind us on the times of when these hours are.
They're here in the memo.
Oh, sorry.
But the time itself, let's see, they range. They're different times. So for Tuesday, the Tuesday, September 7th, the time is 3 to 4 p.m. On Tuesday, the 14th, it's 8 to 9 p.m. And then on Thursday, the 23rd, it's 4 to 5 p.m. I should have included that. My apologies.
That's okay. Thank you.
And is there any play on that? Because that's kind of either early or kind of late.
Yeah, I don't know for sure. My assumption is because the MREA is already planning all of these and all they're asking us to do is promote it and then be there. There might be less flexibility, but yeah, it's a question that I'll ask.
And then I guess a basic question, and I might have missed it, do you get like a Zoom link? Or how do you actually attend the virtual?
Good question.
I know it
there-
says how it's promoting it.
Yes. I don't know for sure. So all I've received from Marta, who's our connection at the MREA, is basically just, thank you for being willing to co-host these. Here's some information.
Okay.
What date would you like? I mentioned that I would be taking it to the commission, that you guys would be talking about it. So I'll get a little bit more information from her on the actual logistics of what this looks like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
I know that we conducted our evaluation meetings with the MREA using Zoom.
Okay. That makes the most sense, probably.
So I think they would probably host a Zoom meeting. And they would just send out a link to the Zoom meeting for everyone. And then we could just send that out in our media, various media to our, our announcement of that event.
Yep.
And I do like the idea, piggybacking on what you said, Commissioner Fink, that perhaps we could do this 8 to 9 meeting, but later, maybe a month later or early October, do a separate meeting and have them as a host,
Yeah.
or as a guest, for the meeting, and provide another presentation, and I think that might be helpful. And that would we could have it, broadcast like we do this, I think, and then invite people to attend, and I think we could arrange chairs even now, they're almost 6 feet apart, I would say, and
Yeah.
could get quite a few people in here, even with social distancing.
Yeah, just a couple different options. Because those times are a little difficult.
Mm-hmm. I hear you.
I'd like to know what the timeline is, working backwards from December 31st. How much time do people have for the various steps? Because I'm not totally familiar with the steps. It seems like a quick timeline.
Yeah. Yeah, it is, and they got started late this year. I don't know what the issues were, but they are really pushing to get very many installed this year unless people make a commitment soon. That's why I was saying the earlier the better to get that, because I think there is as I remember, it can be 4 to 6 weeks to get everything through the process where they could start installing.
It seems tight.
Yeah, it is, because if people come to the meeting, decide a week later, they're past mid-September, and so they're into late October, early November. And yeah, it could be tight depending on the weather.
Well, on holidays, and it's You have to have them come out, quote, figure out if it's feasible for your house or property, and then probably financing, and it's, the process is a little, to your point, it's not like a show up, use
Right.
your credit card, and it just arrives.
Yeah.
When I was doing the research for this memo, in the past, they mentioned that households or businesses, who signed a contract, received a proposal, or were in the queue to receive a proposal by the end of the year deadline still were able to receive the rebate,
Oh,
basically,
okay.
for participating in the group buy. So I would hope that this year there would be that flexibility as well of, as long as you are in the conversation by
Okay.
that deadline, then you could participate, more or less. But I guess that's up to the MREA to decide.
Yeah, but they should make that clear, because here it sounds like if you have to have it totally done by December 31st.
And they do this every year, so I know some people, like, it's just informational, too. You know, where it's like, maybe they're not ready to pull the trigger on a larger investment, but like, come and learn about it.
That's
And-
true.
Yeah, and I think that's good, too. Like, you plant the seed, if you will.
So there is a potential that it'll be offered again in 2022.
Potentially. I mean, they've offered it for the past few years.
Yeah.
So it could happen again. I think it's more likely to happen if more people come to the Power Hour
Yeah.
and sign up and everything else, so promoting is helpful.
Well, as it stands right now, I would commit to either the 14th or the 23rd, barring any scheduling changes at MREA's end, and of course, welcome any additional information in terms of how we can best show up.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and those dates, I think, should be good for me, too, so.
I will not
And
be
I
available.
think 3 to 4 on the 7th, although I'd like to do it that early, we're not going to get that many people at that time of day.
No.
So, and 4 to 5's even pushing it, but, so I kind of think the 8 to 9 on the 14th would be the best to do.
Yeah, that would work well for me, too.
Okay,
Okay.
so we're in agreement, the 14th, 8 to 9, okay, great. And I think having our support there will help, being online and just knowing that we're supporting this, so that's good. Any other questions about the program? I think the good questions about this and the installation, and it does really say it completed and energized, but I do know from past programs that they, as long as they had signed up and everything and, you know, had a contract, that they could still be installed because of weather in the spring.
Do we have a local resident we can reach out to who's completed the process that can be sort of like an ambassador?
Champion,
Yeah.
almost, if you will.
A champion.
Great idea.
Yeah, we
We'll,
could,
we'll be ambassadors.
yes, we could ask MREA about that, because they would have a list of participants, I would think.
Yeah.
And,
We get someone local that like, this is your neighbor, right? And they've been able to do this, so it might be
Yeah.
more congenial.
yeah, or True North Solar too, since they were the provider in past programs, they would have, you know, like a happy customer
Yeah.
list that they could, I'm sure would be really happy to share.
Yeah, absolutely. See if we can get a couple, maybe see if, who's available.
Okay, that's a great idea.
And maybe for our EMC meeting, if we cannot have them come in, the company, Solar Power, or
True North Solar.
True North, yeah, thank you. We could have the champion come in
Mhm.
and still be able to
Property
like,
owner, yeah.
yeah, still be able to kind of reiterate it without the full presentation.
At the very least, it would be nice to have that story to share on social media channels, considering
Yeah.
we've got our compost story that we're hoping to share soon and everything else. So it's just all part of our communications plan.
Yeah.
Okay, great. And I think this is really a great time. I think that for solar PV, because the cost has come down so much, and with this incentive of group buy plus incentives on lowering that cost down to by 30 cents, that's a great incentive. So, yeah, the cost, I think we pointed out before, used to be $4 a watt, and now we're getting down to the average cost being $2.76, plus the group buy is going to lower that. So I'm very interested to see what some of the paybacks are on these, and I'm going to be looking at that for my home as well. So, all right. Great. I'm glad we're moving forward in that program. Next item up is the city fleet analysis opportunities, and we have talked in the past about Fleet Karma, and there has been a change in, well, actually a change of ownership of Fleet Karma. And there's also a program through Excel. And again, I'm going to let Shannon go through that analysis opportunity.
Sure. So at our last meeting, for which we have minutes, May 17th, I presented an EV-ready community study that had a number of prioritized action items to help the city become EV-ready in it. And one of those action items was looking into conducting analysis of our fleet to determine if there are opportunities to transition some of the internal combustion engine vehicles to electric. Now really this is just starting the conversation at trying to understand of Oakdale's entire fleet, are there opportunities for transitioning currently? We really want to make sure that that study is conducted before any conversations about buying electric vehicles, because that helps bring people along in the process a little bit easier than sort of saying, EVs are the future, let's buy them right now. That's not a great argument to have. So there are a couple of different partners that could potentially provide that analysis for us. One of them, as Chair Miller mentioned, is called Geotab. They acquired Fleet Karma back in 2018. And Fleet Karma has come up in a conversation in the past because back when they were still Fleet Karma, they had provided a number of peer cities with a very comparable fleet analysis. And so the thought was, well, if other cities have done this, then maybe we can do it too. Geotab does still provide analysis that we could take advantage of. They have what they call their EVSA, EV Suitability Assessment. The way that it works is very similar to how Fleet Karma operated for those other cities. You install telematics devices into eligible vehicles for gathering data over a specific amount of time. At whatever point that there's enough data, be that 30 days, 60 days, 90 days, the EV suitability assessment comes back and says, based on all this information, driving habits, climate, how you use your vehicle, here are some EVs on the market that we feel like might be a good comparable transition. The goal is to find something that's going to hopefully be cost effective in the long run and will provide a lot of environmental impacts, positive environmental impacts. So that is one option that we can pursue. The second one, the one that I'm looking into a little bit harder, is through Xcel Energy. So Xcel believes a lot in electrification, and they're trying to bring municipalities along in the conversation in as easy of a way as possible. So they do provide a Fleet Electrification Advisory Program, FEAP, which is a very good acronym. It is no cost or low cost for municipalities, so that is something that is of interest to the city of Oakdale. And they basically do the exact same thing. You're putting telematics devices into eligible vehicles, gathering data on those devices and those vehicle driving patterns, and then saying, of the EVs that are currently on the market, here's a vehicle we think would be a good, suitable transition for this particular vehicle that we're studying. So it does require that we have at least 5 vehicles that are light duty in the city's fleet that could be gathering those data points. So I'm in the process of having conversations with internal departments to determine if we're ready to even pursue a path with this FEEP program, to see if the city might have some vehicles that are EV ready. It could be that right now, the way that our fleet is designed, there just aren't enough comparable electric vehicles on the market that would make sense for transitioning. It could be that we just have quite a few vehicles that we've recently acquired and are just not in a place where they're ready to be turned over. So there's a possibility that we decide maybe right now is not the appropriate time for this fleet analysis, but potentially in a year when there are more EVs on the market that could be comparable, or there are more vehicles in the city's fleet that are ready to be retired, that could be an option. It could also be that we determine that now is the time to conduct this study. Again, we're working with internal partners to figure out what that potentially looks like for the city. But I wanted to give that update to you guys because I know that that was obviously one of the things that we had said was a priority that the EMC supports in the entire pantheon of options to become EV ready. So we are actively pursuing it, and there will be more information to come in the future.
Thank you, Shannon. I really do think an assessment would be valuable so that we do have economics figured out, what would be the return, but also the environmental impact of going to an electric vehicle. And I think those two things combined would need analysis in order to make decisions on which vehicles are best suited. You know, and to, you know, start with those that have the best economics and combined environmental impact, lowering environmental impact. So I think that would be good data to get through the telemetrics. And the two questions that I have, one is geotab. What do you know what the costs are offhand? I imagine they do charge for doing their study.
There is a charge, yeah. It's fairly low, but it's a monthly charge to use their overall geotab platform that provides a number of different data points across the board. The EVSA is just one of the tools that you get by subscribing to the platform itself.
Yeah. And have you talked with any of the cities that have gone through that? And their, well, when it was Fleet Karma?
It was Fleet Karma. I haven't talked to any of them one-on-one, but I was part of a cohort this past year that did a variety of Zoom meetings related to the topic of fleet electrification. And so I know that there are a number of cities that have taken the results from the Fleet Karma study and then applied them towards either being in the process of acquiring an electric vehicle or who have actually then purchased an electric vehicle to be part of their fleet. So we have some peers that have done this and gone through the entire process, and they could be helpful to gather some insight on.
Yeah. And I recently read that I think it was the city of Eden Prairie that had purchased some EVs for their police fleet. And I think it'd be good to get perhaps get information from them on what they did to come to that decision, if they did a study and who did it for them. I think that would be good because they actually have EVs on the road now, I guess. So. And the other thing is a significant difference between the 90 days with the Excel program and the 30 days of telemetrics with the geotab. And I guess it just gets more accurate data over a longer period of time, different driving conditions, I imagine. But I'm just wondering, I guess from experience, you know, more data points, the better. But, you know, is there diminishing returns after the 30 days? And, you know, if vehicles, or if there is also, you mentioned weather. So I guess if finding out more about that, the length of the program too.
Yeah, I think especially with Excel's program, it's designed to provide as much insight as possible, and it's a little bit more of an actual like program that you participate in, whereas with Geotab, again, you're just paying for the monthly platform itself, and the EBSA is a tool that's included in that platform. So I think that for them, they say more like, you need to have at least a month's worth of data in order to be able to really access this tool, but they do recommend that there's more months of data collected before conducting the suitability assessment. Because you're right, it's just better if you're looking at trend analysis, you need a lot of time
Yeah.
to be able to do that, as opposed to making decisions based on only 30 days. That's not totally enough time, so.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I think too that the more data, the better with that. But, you know, again, to be able to move forward. And I also think that with 5 eligible vehicles, that I guess that would be the thing we need to determine.
Yep.
So that we could meet their requirements as well. Because they may not even be a consideration if we don't have 5 eligible vehicles.
Right, and the whole goal of this is we want to make sure that this is the right fit for the city at the right time. So I think, you know, having Excel in conversation with us about this and letting us know whether or not they feel like this is the appropriate time to conduct a study will be kind of helpful on the front end, and then having internal conversations as well to make sure that this is the right fit at the right time is useful too.
Yeah. But I do think, I really like the idea of having city vehicles go to electric, and because it sets a great precedent for the city and in being a leader in this area with our vehicles, but also helps our residents and businesses show that also that the city's going electric. Maybe they'll consider going electric as well. I think things like that, you know, and then also some of the major automakers. And I think we talked about this in the past, the Ford F-150, an iconic light-duty truck going electric, that's got to be a big incentive for people to at least take a look at EVs. Any questions from any of the commissioners on this assessment?
I have a few.
No question?
You can go. You
Go
know
ahead.
I have a few.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
Okay. I was wondering how long, and if this was something you delved into yet, how long the study or the FEEP information is even good for. Because if we talk about like, when is a good time?
Yep.
I mean, yes, we'll need time, but then we need to apply that, figure out how we slice and dice it to determine our next step.
Yeah, so one of the eligibility requirements for participating in the
Yeah.
program is that the city should have a plan to acquire an electric vehicle within 1 year of the
1 year.
study.
Okay.
That is a flexible
Yeah, yeah.
requirement, but it's part of the process of determining right fit, right time, right? Like
Right.
if we can get the results of this assessment itself, but if there are no plans to actually use
Yeah.
those results, if we're not at a place where that's a feasible conversation, then why conduct the study at that time? So I think that's part of the assessment that we're trying to determine is this the right time to pursue this opportunity, or might we wait potentially a year, again, when there are more EVs on
Yeah.
the market, or the city is a little bit more primed to have the conversation?
Okay. And
Because
then,
you're right, we want to use the results immediately.
yeah. And then along those lines, and I truly don't understand, so please just let me know if it doesn't make sense. The telematics of it, are we able to gain insight from that just on like, you know, Larry has a lead foot and needs to, like, his emissions is too much because he goes too fast? Like, can we bury down that?
Yeah, I
That make
understand your
sense?
question. I have no idea,
Okay.
to be honest. I don't know very much about what the telematics devices are actually collecting,
Yeah.
what kind of information, and how that information is synthesized and utilized.
Yeah.
So that would be, I think, once we've determined if now is the right time for the study, then that's the next step of figuring out the logistics,
Okay.
what actually happens.
Because that might provide to us like 2 pieces of data. Maybe we're not looking to electrify immediately, but we could still gain insights.
Mm-hmm.
And then to the point of the lightning, does either of these programs take into consideration EVs that are intended to come out in the next 3 years?
Also a good question. I don't know for sure,
Okay.
but I would assume yes.
Hope, right?
You would hope,
Okay.
yeah. They are really trying to make sure that there's an apples to apples comparison. So unfortunately, if the EV isn't on the market yet, there might be some missing information
Yeah.
about whether or not it's truly a suitable switch for a specific type of vehicle. Because they want to, again, the study is designed to make sure that anything that the city needs out of a vehicle is satisfied by an electric option. If it's like, in theory, this vehicle is coming, but we don't totally know what it's going to do, then that's a little bit harder to compare.
Yeah,
But that's a question to ask the people who are actually doing the study.
yeah, okay. And then last one, I know that we have police cars that run during the winter. I think we've talked about this in previous meetings, where they can't turn them off because the computers and stuff would freeze, if I'm not mistaken. Does that ring a bell for anyone else?
Yeah, historically, I know that has been an observation.
Right, so would that change with EV or no, because it's the computer itself that is the issue? No idea,
no
okay,
idea.
sorry, neither do I.
No,
Just-
no, that's totally okay. It's a great question. I wish I knew the answer.
Yeah, because it's,
Councilwoman,
yeah, step on up, sir.
so you are correct. That is a big issue that we have with our police cruisers
Yeah.
is they have to be parked outside, they have to stay warm, and the converse is same thing in the summer. They have to stay cool inside. That will be corrected with the police department expansion that we are planning. They will be parked inside. So whether
Okay.
it's internal combustion engine or electric vehicle, the vehicles will be inside.
Okay, so that problem is solved regardless.
Took care of that one.
Okay,
Or we will
perfect.
be, yes.
That's great.
Thank you.
Steal your question?
I was just going to say, and relate to that, question was, but there are some light-duty trucks that
Yeah,
have to, for whatever reason, keep running. Because I know that I've had a city light-duty truck come out. They were doing, looking at the water monitoring and stuff. And they parked. It wasn't really even that cold of weather, but it was in the fall, and they parked and they had it idle for like an hour while they were checking things out. And so it would be good to, I mean, I would imagine the telemetrics
I would hope, right?
would pick that up
Yeah.
and compare that to an EV that wouldn't need to be idling during that time.
No, just more of a bookend. I think it's great that we're leaning into other cities that have, pardon the pun, paved the way for us assessing this. I think all of us would agree that this commission in May was unanimously in support of this direction and first step, and I would just acknowledge that that is still the case today. So just let us know how we can help plug in as those internal conversations happen, or if there's any ways we can support this.
Absolutely.
Pave the way and plug in. You're on fire tonight.
Just on fire.
Here all week.
Any other questions or comments on this?
Yeah, I feel like for like the 90 days, I feel like we should do like a winter one then a summer one, just to see like if there actually is a difference. Kind
Makes
of
a
what
lot
you
of
guys were saying
sense.
with like the idling.
Yeah,
See if like it possibly burns more, like runs hotter or colder.
Great.
yeah, or like
points.
AC or heat, whether or not one is worse than the other.
Yeah. Looking over like battery life in miles per gallon.
Yeah,
I think that should be a factor too,
Mhm.
with how winters have been.
yeah.
Point.
All right. Well, thank you, Shannon.
Mhm.
Next, we have our editorial calendar review. And just to bring people up to date, we have started this year with an editorial calendar. It's designed to generate public outreach and communication about our commission's priorities related on a number of topics, but to do that, on a monthly basis based on what's happening across the country regarding these same issues that we're working on. And we point out that in August now is National Water Quality Month, which relates to our Adopt a Drain, Blue Thumb, and Rain Garden and Rain Barrels programs that we have. These are resources that are on the city's website right now, and so there are things that we can get out there this month yet. Let people know that those resources are available. So are there any other things here? Well, I also see in September, it's the Electric Vehicles Month, and that, so we were just talking about this. So we had talked in the past about with Drive Electric Minnesota, that if there was, I see that it's National Drive Electric Week at the end of September. And I think we should keep tabs on whether there will be a drive event sponsored by Drive Electric Minnesota or someone that we could publicize and get residents to try out an EV.
Yeah, I think when I looked at their website, there were a couple of ride and drive events that were scheduled throughout the metro. I'm uncertain about their ability to still stay events, just again, given kind of the current state of the pandemic, but I think that it would be helpful to keep tabs on that. And if nothing in person happens this year, I think last year they Drive Electric Minnesota tried to do a lot of virtual things to promote electric vehicles around this time. So it could be virtual again this year, but that's worth promoting.
Yeah.
One other thing I'll just bring up is the Car-Free Day. I know communities have really promoted that in the past, and businesses have promoted a Car-Free Day. Where people are, I think September 22nd, it's still good biking weather, or to use public transportation to get into work, but to have a car-free day. And that's something we could promote within the city and let residents know about that date, and maybe they can plan for that coming up.
I did want to call out just really quickly, in July, our theme was sustainability, and the goal was to really promote the organics waste drop-off program that the county has. So we did bring quite a few compost pails to the farmers market in the month of July. We had a couple of lovely commissioners come and help us promote that. Gretel in particular was very good about getting people to stop at our table and talk about composting. So we had a good 60-plus households take home a pail during the month of July. We had 50 overall households sign up for the entire program in the entirety of 2020. So we already beat last year's goal in just 1 month, which was a really exciting thing for us. So thank you to Commissioner Girding and Commissioner Fink for joining me in that.
I think that
Go.
I'm always getting you. Feel free. I
Go.
went first last time.
Go.
So I really love this calendar. Is there any way we can start putting together 2022 and then potentially reach out to our commissioners to ask for funding for like plastic-free July? Let's get a booth at the farmer's market and hand out reusable bags. And then in the winter, we can do the indoor market or whatever it's called at the Discovery Center, and then promote whatever we're doing that day. Like maybe for the rain garden, we could paint rocks. Kids love to paint rocks, make ladybugs. You know, like we can do activities or something it could just be one day if we want out of the month, but something to keep us topical and in the community.
Yeah, I think that's a good point, especially since we were sort of piloting the idea of an editorial calendar this year. It was nice to be able to get our thoughts aligned with themes for the year, and now I think that I hear you saying, let's get some action behind
Yeah.
the calendar as the next step in evolving the editorial calendar.
Yeah, and give everyone time too, because it's, you know, especially if we want to do activities or need the support monetarily or just the collaborative support of other groups, like, give us time to plan that and to get it lined up.
Yeah, thanks. And I just think it's a natural extension of our, as you've laid out, Shannon, it's a natural extension of our outreach and comms priorities to do this. And so it's really great to have this, like, source document of sorts, but just basically like it's an extension of the work plan that we have for us, and what are the ways that we can support the work that's happening. While I might be biased, and while I'm not the best salesperson like Gretel, I will say that the tabling event and showing up alongside you as staff was
absolutely.
so easy and was so simple and it was so much fun. Like, are there other ways, to your point, to do a tabling event
Yeah.
and either have our own tabling event or have like a piece of Oakdale's table, right, as a rotating theme per month that's in line with the editorial calendar? So I think there's a lot of ways to do it, but I would totally be for doing it again at any time, right now. So thank
got
you
more
for
pills
making
on
it,
my desk.
thank you for making it an option. It's just very, very easy to do, so.
Great. I like that, those ideas. That's, would be wonderful to continue that throughout the year. And August is actually, while it is also National Water Quality Month, it's also, we're looking at water conservation. This is a tough summer to do conservation regarding lawns and gardens. But you know, there are other conservation methods inside your home too. I think lawn watering is a big one, but you know, we can encourage people to put in rain gardens and things that do not generally require any water. And also do, you know, I think most lawns, you know, will recover even though they get dried out somewhat. So to let people know that they don't need to have a green lawn in a drought as well. So there may be some things we can do with the water conservation. I think there are some tips again on our website around that, and we could take a look to see if we need to, you know, update that for the current drought conditions that we're having.
Is there a way that we can, and maybe we just talked about this and I'm totally excited, so I forgot, so forgive me. Is there a way that, that the commission, I'll back up. How does the commission participate in the Adopt a Drain program? Not necessarily from the drains that we adopt as a commission or individually, but as a city in that program. Is it in the same way that we would do public awareness and outreach like we did for organics for the county program? Is it that kind of, is there an opportunity for us to do that too?
I think so, yeah. As far as being able to share this story and explain how you guys participate in the program, and using that as a catalyst to help other residents know how they can do it too. So with Adopt a Drain, since you have adopted a drain, I think that's kind of an easier way to do some sort of a social media highlight. Like I said, Alyssa is working on pulling together our composting video. That's a little bit more involved. It could be that with the Adopt a Drain program, we do just like a very short and sweet Instagram post. It could be a story, just some sort of a very quick 15-second or so highlight of what it looks like to actually go to the drain and pick stuff out of it. Because that's pretty easy. It's a relatively low barrier commitment. So I think that there is a way for us to highlight the fact that you guys are actively doing this and have been doing it for a year and a half now?
As a commission.
As a
Yeah.
commission,
Correct.
yeah.
Individually much longer, I think.
Yeah.
Just did 25 pounds this past weekend.
Nice.
Well, I think, Commissioner Wilson, this is your month, so we might be reaching out to you, me and Alyssa, and just saying if we can take some photos or something.
Okay.
Maybe we could do a contest like they did Name the Snowplows. That got it garnered a lot of interest. So
Did it?
maybe we could do like fun, like Name the Drain, and Lord help us put it out on the internet and ask for suggestions.
I do know that other cities have done that.
Okay, yeah, I know like the Adopt a Drain program, their Instagram is, for like a local org sort of deal, is
It's pretty
moderately
good.
entertaining.
It's pretty
Yeah.
good.
So, and they do that where they'll like show a map with like fun names. And I do think that you can set it as public or private. So we might even be able to snag that data for our local area.
Yeah.
But just as something that's low, input, low time consuming, that could still be fun.
Absolutely.
Okay, great. I think this editorial calendar that we've adopted this year is really a good tool for us. And I'm really happy that we've engaged in this process, and it helps bring all of these issues forward on a monthly basis, so it's great. The next item on the agenda is other commissioner or council member updates, and I guess I'll start with our council member.
Sure. I just have a few. I won't take up too much time tonight, but thank you for having me. To start, work on the 2022 budget continues. That's a big endeavor this time of the year. Just kind of a 30,000-foot view of how that looks for this city. On average, the city's looking at an average property value increase of just over 4%. So this is just what happens with the market. The county assessors tell us what that number is. The city largely doesn't have any control over that. But based on that information, we get to work backwards to figure out how much money we need to collect as a city, and then that determines our tax levy. So overall, we're working on keeping the levy as flat as possible. Always our goal every year, but we do have some larger expenditures to work into the overall budget as a city. The biggest one this year is the addition of 3 full-time paid firefighters. A number of years ago, we started this slow and methodical transition from our hybrid model of having full-time firefighters in our volunteer fire department to a strictly full-time paid fire department. It's a trend we're seeing across the country, and every city's having to do it. And so Oakdale has been making that steady march forward, and so we'll be continuing that this year. Obviously, the cost of living increases for our city staff, absolutely. And we have a couple of new hires in the police department and the building inspections department. If you think of all of the development that'll be happening around town, the building inspectors are going to be very, very busy. So those are some of the big cost drivers driving our 2022 budget proposal. But we are working on that and hope to have the preliminary levy set by mid-September. That's actually the date we have to set, kind of the ceiling of where taxes are going to be, and then we always work down from there. Development. So we are in the final stages of an agreement with Washington County and Lake Elmo for the reconstruction of Ideal Avenue by the Willowbrook property, so County State Aid Highway 13. That's really the linchpin in the development moving forward right now, is we want to get that agreement signed so we know we have a sturdy and safe road for all of those people that will be moving into Willowbrook. So Lake Elmo is voting on it tomorrow night, and as soon as they do, Oakdale will sign off, and then we will get that project going, and development will begin at Willowbrook. So it's been a long process coming, but it's happening. So final item, an event. We will see if it happens, but we are hoping. September 7th, our annual Touch a Truck event in the City Hall parking lot. Always a fun event. We really missed not being able to do it last year, so we hope it can come back again this year. Obviously, we're going to keep an eye on everything happening related to COVID and make adjustments as needed, but if the EMC was interested in possibly having electric vehicles at that event,
Yeah.
that might be a good opportunity to work with other city staff and fold it in. So just kind of mentioning that, 5 to 7 p.m. on Tuesday, September 7th. I am happy to answer any questions if anybody has any for me.
Just a quick question
No,
about,
sure.
was it County 13, Ideal?
Yep.
My old stomping grounds. Is it only towards like Hidden Bay, or are we talking all the way from 14 to 50th Street?
Specifics.
Well, you know I was going to ask you that
I
question.
know. I think it's all the way up to 50th Street. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, didn't they redo part
around
of that
Olson.
a couple years ago?
They did. It's nice and
Olson
wide
Lake,
with the
yeah,
path, yeah.
the Olson Lake Trail and everything, they
Yep.
did that already, so they won't do that again.
Okay.
It's just around Willowbrook. And I know, this has been a big endeavor working with both cities because 3M turned some land back to Lake Elmo on their side that they'll be developing also. And so we're all just kind of collaborating together, and we're actually working on a sewer agreement with them. They're going to be buying some sewer capacity from us to accommodate their stuff also. And there's been a lot of puzzle pieces that had to fit together very nicely to pull this off, and we're almost there. So close, yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
I had heard that Lennar had stopped construction on Willowbrook for a while. Are
No.
they just continuing to move ahead, or?
They are moving ahead, full steam ahead. There is no change in their plans other than we've been waiting for that Ideal Avenue agreement. As soon as that is inked, they are ready to go. So they are beginning in the southeast quadrant, as they've always planned, with the villa and carriage house concepts, I believe. And that's actually through a builder, Continental. Does that sound familiar, Shannon? Maybe?
Little.
Okay. Have you heard that float around your department? I don't know.
That's Linnea.
And so we've already platted that, it's ready to go. And so as soon as that road is signed on, they'll be starting there, and then over the next, I think they're actually, last I had heard was they moved up their timeline from 7 to 10 years to 5 to 8. So they actually want to get it built faster, which means we have to get utilities in faster. And I should add, all of that utility work, the reconstruction of 40th Street, that's all been happening while we've been waiting for the Ideal Avenue project to move forward. So a lot of work has been going on up there. Willowbrook is very excited, or Lennar is very excited to get in there and start building. Yeah, it's been a long time coming. So
Yeah,
we're
yeah.
excited to see it come up, and it's going to be beautiful with all of the green space incorporated in there and the trails, and it's going to be a pretty cool community for Oakdale.
Great, great.
Any other questions? All right, thanks everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anything else that any of the commissioners would like to bring up? No? I will throw one thing out tonight, because it's come up in my community, the Oak Run Shores development. We recently had a national night out for our community, and we did have a police car and a fire truck there, and it was great for the kids. It was a big attraction. But I heard from our community just the whole thing about garbage trucks, and we have like at least four different vendors, different haulers that come through, and not only for trash pickup, but for the recycling, and some even have trucks for yard waste as well. So we can get a dozen trucks through our community rather than 2 or 3. And so people are aware of that issue, and we've tried to consolidate, and I would say that we probably, out of 200 homes, only have 10 homeowners that are contracting with different haulers because we've contracted as a community with one hauler, but people, for whatever reason, choose their own hauler, and we can't force them to do that, to change. So right now, and we've talked about this many years ago, probably around 2005 or so, with looking at the city going to zones and or districts in the city where there would be one hauler. And that would alleviate the problem. There'd just be one hauler for different parts of the city. So I bring that up because I think it is something that really does have not only a safety impact in communities with all these multiple trucks going through, but there is wear and tear on the streets, which has both a cost to the city, as well as, that's an environmental impact too, because having to use bituminous on roads has an environmental impact. So And then I know when we were looking at this before, that roughly one garbage truck has the emissions of 30 cars. So when you're talking about 2 versus 12, you have 10 more, that's 300 cars equivalent going through your neighborhood with all those emissions as well. So, you know, I know there have been studies in the past by MnDOT, Minnesota Department of Transportation on this subject, and maybe we could just start taking a look at what updated studies there are there from MnDOT. And I would also point out in the past that there was resistance from the haulers, of course, about having a system like that, and also from some residents who really, like in our development, want to choose their own hauler for whatever reason. And I know there's also been it's been fairly controversial with going to a single hauler in the city of St. Paul, and they've had their issues. So I don't want us to get into something that will become a tar baby for the city or for us. But I wanted to bring that up because I think it is on people's minds. And people are looking at it, you know, the environmental part of it, the wear and tear on streets, because I think our development is looking at, you know, maybe in 2-3 years we'll have to redo the streets if we continue to get that kind of wear on them. And then also just a safety issue as well. Those trucks going through in the early morning when children are going to school and that sort of thing. It's, I know it is a safety issue for a lot of people as well. So I just wanted to put that out there. I don't think we need to take any action on that this evening, but you know, I personally am going to see if I can find some updated MnDOT studies on that, and maybe at some point we can have a workshop to talk about the details of that. Okay, if there are no more updates from anyone? Okay. Our next meeting date is September 20th, and I think we will be here again, and we'll as you know, I'm hoping that we will not go back into emergency situation with the pandemic, and so plan to be here at City Hall. And with that, I would look for a motion to adjourn the meeting.
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
2 seconds.
All in favor of adjourning our August 16th, 2021 meeting of the Oakdale Environmental Management Commission, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Meeting adjourned. Thank you.